Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links has just teased something pretty big. Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another video. So we are going to talk about something that just happened in the recent Marik event, the ongoing Marik event. I think it's awesome that Marik actually came to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, a character who was in the files of this game for like 7 years, has finally been unlockable, and a lot of people feel this probably is the final Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters character. But what I wanted to focus on in this video is something that I thought was extremely interesting between the conversation that Yami Bakura has if you play as Yami Bakura and interact with Marik. And I think this is something that could have bigger implications regarding Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links as a whole, but at the same time, we have seen them tease things before, like in the Emma Besso Ghost Girl event, and then, at least at this point in August 2025, not actually follow up on it. So who the hell knows if this is ever even going to be touched on, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So if you talk to Marik as Yami Bakura calls Marik pathetic, and then says, "You and I are the same, we're both tokens in a game, pieces to be played with." So I think it's very fascinating that Yami Bakura is well aware that Duel Links is essentially one giant game, and it almost kind of breaks the fourth wall, which is really, really cool. Marik has no idea what Yami Bakura is talking about, and Yami Bakura compares it to a Yami no game, and he says, just enjoy your role in this RPG, as Yami no games are very, very fun to play, which is certainly debatable. Marik says he serves no one but himself, and then the really interesting dialogue comes from Yami Bakura. He states, "The question is, who assigned you this role? It's usually the game master, which would mean Seto Kaiba, but I feel there's something else, something fundamental to the rules of this game. But whatever, if you want to be mad at someone, be mad at Kaiba, even if the Pharaoh is the one you despise more. Ha 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 ha." And then Marik starts to remember his hatred for the Pharaoh and says he will end the Pharaoh in Yugi. And that's essentially the conversation between the two. But I just found this to be really, really fascinating and wanted to make a quick video on it because I know there's people who play Duel Links kind of casually or maybe are wondering if they're ever going to expand on Duel Links. There have been some really, really good lore pieces written by users over on Reddit trying to tie in what's actually happening with Duel Links. There's been a lot of theories. My theory is that it's going to lead to like an event where the actual evil that's created Duel Links will be unveiled and it's going to be a unique character. I think if they did that in like a movie or an anime setting, it would work perfectly, but the chances of that are certainly very low. And they keep doing this where they're teasing something bigger than Duel Links itself, right? The fact that the Vrains characters were able to see the other worlds and potentially interact with those characters. However, that was at the end of 2023, and almost 2 full years later, we have not had any follow-up remotely to that event, and it makes you think that they're just never going to touch it again. And here's another instance where Yami Bakura feels there's something bigger than Seto Kaiba at work here, and even goes, whatever, if you want to be mad at someone, be mad at Kaiba, because Yami Bakura just wants people to be mad at each other. He doesn't really care if there's a valid reason, but it's very clear to me, at least, that Yami Bakura is teasing something bigger here than just Kaiba creating the game, even saying the term game master and who assigned you this role. He's asking very direct and specific questions, and I just thought that this was discussion video worthy. Like, this is another thing that Duel Links is teasing, and we certainly are in the end game when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. I think you'd have to be a little naive to think that Duel Links is just getting started at this point, right? Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters is probably over. The game has been running for almost 10 years now. And sure, I guess theoretically they could keep going because there are still plenty of characters, but now you're really getting into the minor characters with a lot of these shows. We do know there are a bunch of alternate styles and new skins coming to the Duel Monsters world probably pretty soon, so that is another way to extend the longevity of the game. But as for like the story here, you know, you have Zark in Arc 5, who could have a pretty big role to play. You have a couple of like characters left here and there in Vrains. Sevens and Go Rush I don't think are going to add anything crazy to the story, but I just feel like we're kind of at the end here, and if there is going to be something really, really cool, like a massive crossover event, even if it's not in terms of an anime or a movie, I think that's gotta happen sooner rather than later if they're going to pull the trigger on that. But who knows? I would just love to, in the confines of this video, hear what you guys have to say. I mean, did you guys make anything big of this? I'm someone who's always felt like there is a greater reason and a bigger evil involved here than just Seto Kaiba creating Duel Links, which we know he did, right? In the Transcend Game manga, the pre-Dark Side of Dimensions manga, Duel Links is very clearly mentioned. It's clearly a Kaiba Corporation thing, but I just feel like it's spiraled and snowballed to a point where you could very convincingly explain to an audience that some sort of evil power hijacked this for some ultimate goal. And even if we're not going to get like an animated production of that storyline, I still think it would be extremely cool if we did get some sort of crossover event, at least in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links app. I think that's what the Ghost Girl event in Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains teased, but you know, it's been 2 years now, and I really just don't know. But I'd love to know all your thoughts on that, any theories, predictions you guys have, and let me know regarding Yu-Gi-Oh! DM World, is this the last character? Like, maybe I could see Strings, maybe I could see regular Bakura, but I think the odds of both of those characters are pretty low, and the only way we're going to get filler characters like Raphael, Darts, Noah, is if they add a new world, because this world is clearly the manga Yu-Gi-Oh! World, and those characters don't exist in the manga. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the comments, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.